Okay, so my name's Scott Whimpey. I'm from First Aid Accident Emergency. I was invited into the Kokoda Challenge family, probably would have been about 2 or 3 years ago now, in sponsoring the event through my company, First Aid Accident Emergency. And I do first aid training, obviously, for all of the Kokoda kids and a lot of schools and different companies on the Gold Coast. So in getting involved in the Kokoda Challenge, this was something that I really saw as a benefit to young people and help them out. And after seeing the Kokoda Challenge for the last 2 years, I really thought that I would decide to throw my hat into the ring and give it a go. So I got involved in the Nike Hammer team, which is about as tough as you could possibly get, I suppose. I remember one young fella last year, I was looking after him for a really, really bad sprained ankle, and I said to him, mate, you can keep going, I can keep you going, I'll wrap it up, I'll get the Glad wrap out and look after you, with all the tips that I could give him through first aid training. And he looked up at me at about 3 in the morning, and I'll never forget it, and he said, mate, if the diggers could do it, I can do it, so I'm going to keep going. And I just thought, from Generation Y, this is a really big thing that's happening that Doug Henderson has got going here. So I wanted to do the event after that from that young fella, and sponsoring the event through the first aid training is something that I really enjoy doing. Well, how we got together as a team with Nike Hammer this year for the Kokoda Challenge was last year. Obviously, we had one person pull out of the team, and they were pretty much on the hunt for someone new. Probably the big criteria behind putting someone new into the team was being positive, because obviously it's a long way and you're looking at 11 or 12 hours. They wanted someone positive in the team, and they wanted to have that real positive vibe in the team, because things can fall apart over 96k. So I'd been running with Peter Hall and Donnie Wallace and Nicole Carroll probably for about 20 years or so, and in that time I'd just gotten to know them and always been a positive person. So I actually approached them and said I was going to be putting in a competition team to try and beat them this year, because I'm one of the sponsors at Kokoda. And pretty much just after the race finished last year, I got a phone call from Nikki Carroll, and she was fairly interested in getting me in the team. So yeah, I happily accepted and pretty much started training from there. The key element for training this event is to get out and run on hills. If you want to run the event, then you need to be running on hills. So when we go out, when I say that my longest run was 36 kilometres, probably every Sunday I would run at least a 30-kilometre run, and we would run through the Tweed Valley, myself, Peter Hall and a group of other people, and we'd run at, most of our running is done around about 5 minutes a kilometre, but coming into the end of our preparation for Kokoda, we were running at sometimes well under 4 minutes a kilometre for some of those long runs, and really punching the hills out. Now, when I mean hills as well, we'd be climbing up hills that were 6-7 kilometre climbs and trying to run at a solid pace up those climbs. So we'd be climbing for 30-40 minutes up those hills and really running hard and pretty much trying to break each other is what we were, we were really out there trying to make sure that we got that strength and endurance in the legs. So speed has nothing to do with an event like Kokoda. So I basically did not do any speed work leading into this event. Everything was endurance based, and the maximum distance that I covered leading up to the event was about 120 kilometres a week. I did a 3-week block of 120 k's a week. The long runs, the Wednesday and the Sunday, were the important runs. Then I did some speed endurance training, but the other guys in the team, they're sort of all... Donnie Wallace is a bit of a machine. He'll probably run 100 miles a week consistently, 160 k's a week. Nikki Carroll about 100, 110k a week. I was about 120k a week, and Peter Hall was about 120k a week as well. My expectations was I was actually quite nervous, and there's an interesting photo on the internet of me at the start line, and I really am quite nervous about the event, not knowing what to expect. And I really just went in with open eyes, just thinking my idea behind running the event with the team was just to stick with the team. And it didn't matter how quick they go. I knew I could keep up with them, didn't matter how quick they went. And if they went slow, then obviously that would be good for me, because I could keep up with them then, but just to stick with them the whole way. That's the plan. Looking at all of the different products and all of the different things that we could have used on the day, the biggest thing, the reason that we used Hammer Nutrition is because we're all healthy and we're fit. Now, a lot of people are healthy and fit, and they'll go to using something like another product, another sports product, but what they don't realise is the preservatives and additives that are in this product are just absolutely horrific for you. So even though you're training hard and you're hydrating well and you're eating good, which you would generally do if you're an athlete, you get onto a day like this and you pump so many preservatives and additives into you if you go with another product. Hammer is preservative and additive free. Therefore, it's keeping you fit and healthy. It's not full of sugar. Now, sugar's all very well and good for you to keep you going, but if you have 6 hours of sugar, you just can't stand it anymore. You have 10 hours of sugar, it's ridiculous. So actually having the fruit products in Hammer, in the bars and the gels, it's way different. After 6 hours, it tastes absolutely fantastic because it's not pumped full of preservatives or sugar, and it goes well in your stomach as well. So Hammer that's the reason that we'd use Hammer, and I don't think I'd go to any other product again. Our nutrition plan was pretty much based around how far we were going to be between stops, and it's quite interesting if you ever look at any of the Hammer nutrition plans or the Hammer products, then they actually have the breakdown of how long you can go between a stop before you have to take something. So looking on the packets and working it out per body weight was actually very easy to do. Obviously training with it is a different thing. So the big key aspect of nutrition for something like this is to go out and train with it. You can't try it on the day. It's something that your body will not handle unless you're a bit of an outside or unknown quantity. But training with it was important. So we worked out pretty much that we would do the majority of the event on the Perpetuum, which was the key for us getting through, because it was basically a total food substitute for doing an event of 12 hours. So we did the Perpetuum pretty much up until around about the 5 or 6 hour mark. Then from there we jumped into the heat a little bit as well. Now also with the Perpetuum and the heat, obviously taking water on board was a key to stay hydrated properly, but also the potassium that you're sweating out. Now, a bit of an idea on how much you sweat in an event like this. I had my black Ironman Nicks on, and by the time I got to the end of the event, I took off my shorts and my black Ironman Nicks were white with sweat. That's how much I'd sweated during the event. So sweat replacement in the Endurolites from Hammer Nutrition, I was eating 3 an hour. I only started off having 1 an hour, and I started to get a few cramps after about 3 hours. So I pretty much just filled my packs full of the Endurolites, which is the anti-cramping tablet, or it's like a salt replacement, and I started eating those like they were lollies in the end, and I was having 3 or 4 an hour, and that was the big fact in not cramping and keeping that salt replacement going. So yeah, I think planning out your nutrition and training with your nutrition is very important for this event, definitely. You know, I always look for positive reasons to get to the finish line. The biggest first aid tip is to actually make sure that you tape your feet and you look after your feet for blisters, because over 1/3 of people in this event pull out because of blisters on their feet. Psychologically, you won't get through it if your feet are bashed and battered to pieces with blisters, so look after your feet by taping your feet for blister prevention. The advice that I'd give to people, and really first aid wise, is to make sure that they come along and do a course like the course that I'll offer next year. It'll be a short course on how to get to the finish in a quicker time than last year, and you'll be looking at that on the Kokoda website next year, and also my website, which is firstaidae.com.au. So go to that website and keep an eye on that, definitely. How important was being positive on the day? Well, I would probably rate the psychological aspect of the race 70–80% of actually running the Kokoda challenge, simply because there's too many varying factors in a race that goes over 96 kilometres. Being 12 hours, 11 hours, anything could happen. You could end up with those real unknown factors. Obviously you can get on top of nutrition and things like that, but things like having a fracture or having a major hamstring tear, or having someone just go carbo low and become totally aggressive, or getting carried away or arguing. And on the day we did have some significant problems with a few people in our team, being just getting on top of nutrition. Now, we had our nutrition plan right, but it was just having some small allergic reactions at the time, or mixing ratios a little bit differently, and this caused major problems for a couple of members in our team. I tell you, I have to hand it to a couple of people in the team just being really tough and getting through it. Early stages, we had one of our team members vomiting and have quite severe gastric problems, become quite depleted and totally dehydrated. Basically vomited up everything they had at the 35 kilometre mark, and we pretty much towed them through for another 15 kilometres up through Polly's Kitchen, and that I was talking to one of the other members in the team at that point in time, and I thought that we were probably out at that point in time, but the other person turned around to me in the team and just said, "Scotty, they will not give up, no matter what, they won't give up." And I pretty much just had faith that they wouldn't give up at that point in time, so we just kept egging them on, and once we got some nutrition into them, they left us behind for the whole day, and they actually came good, 110% good. So yeah, positively thinking and being psychologically tough and being on top of it is the only reason I think that we got the record this year. They have to not only deal with doing 96 kilometres, but they have to deal with sleep deprivation. They have to deal with longer nutrition stops, so they might be 5 hours between nutrition. They're having to carry a lot more. They're having to deal with going through the night for a lot longer. We're running 90% of that course in daylight, so we can actually see where our feet are going. So you can have obviously a good headlight, but it means a lot quicker if you can get through it in daylight. So that's our plan, is to get through it quickly, but we truly respect the people that take a lot longer to do it, because it's very, very tough having to go that 20 or 30 hours. My body, I don't think you'd go for 30 hours. I've never tried it over 30 hours, so I'll take my hat off to people that do it. The advice that I would give to people considering doing the Kokoda Challenge next year is do it, because it's one of those events that will probably change your life. Not only just the event itself, not only just the 96 kilometres, it's actually the journey that it takes to get to an event like that, the training that you're going to be doing with your friends, working out your nutrition, having the meetings, planning the actual events, going out onto the actual course, talking to the diggers, talking to the organisers, raising the money. All of those things are character building and life changing, and it gives you a purpose. Like, honestly, finishing an event like this, I suppose the only thing I can relate it to is after a wedding. There goes so much planning into something like that at the end of it you're a bit disappointed because it's over. There's nothing else to aim at. So having that goal in your life for that time is fantastic, but actually finishing something like this with a group of 4 people going through your ups and downs, it's an adventure. So do it. You'd be crazy not to do it if you can do it. The other advice that I'd give new teams coming into Kokoda next year would be to obviously train, get out and do the actual course, work out the other team members as well, work them out. And what I mean by working out another team member is, I've had stories from people this year after the event saying, I've had guys in my team that got to halfway and they decided if it started to hurt that they would not take anti-inflammatories, so they decided to pull out of the event. They're the sort of things you've got to work out before you go into an event like this, because as people have said in all other events, your demons are going to come out and haunt you. Now, if there's a weak member in the team that is weak, then you need to sit down with them and you need to discuss all options before you get into an event like this. So sort out the team members, work out their strengths and weaknesses, sort out your nutrition and do your training. Support crew is a big key factor in this event too, because if you're in a support crew and your support crew doesn't have any idea what's happening through those stages, and someone comes in and they don't insist on making the meet, or insist on getting some new shoes on, or insist on getting them all revved up again, and people won't take advice when they're at their lowest as well. Get away from me, I don't want anything to do with you. And all of a sudden things turn pear-shaped. So having a support crew that actually knows your weaknesses is probably another big thing as well, because they can just slap you around a bit and go, get out there, here's some food, eat, or whatever it might be.